Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Bloom and Richard Skipper. It's the only program in which therapy and entertainment come together to show everyone not only how to cope in the age of COVID, but how to be creatively productive through it all. And now, Dr. Judi Bloom and Richard Skipper.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Can you believe it? It's Christmas Eve, and it's a very different Christmas for all of us this year. Thank you and welcome to Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Bloom, who you'll be meeting in just a moment, and myself, Richard Skipper. This show brings therapy and art together so we can show how we are not only creating during this time, but how we are coping during this time. And today I have a very special show for you because I have 4 fabulous entertainers that are waiting in the wings. I'm also going to be doing a special giveaway later. So share the show, tell your friends, get them here. It's all about the holidays, creating, and the way we are all coping. When I think about what we're going through right now, I realize that all of us are missing our loved ones. Thank God for this medium so we can all come together and celebrate each other. And that's what this is all about, celebrating each other. I'd like to begin with a very special video that I'm going to share with all of you today from my dear friend, Scott Coulter. Now, he reached out to many of our friends in the cabaret community, and they put together this special video, and I thought it would be the perfect opening for today's show. And then Dr. Bloom and I will be here on the other side. Enjoy this video.
Happy holiday, happy holiday. May the merry bells keep ringing. Happy holidays. May the merry bells keep ringing. Happy holidays.
Young man, there's no need to feel down.
Young man, let's get rid of that frown.
Young man, take a look round the town. There's no need to be unhappy. Listen, there's one thing you should know. They said one thing while you're dreaming of snow. If you spread love to each person you find, joy will echo throughout midnight. It's time to shout it up. Happy holiday. We're wishing everyone a happy holiday. Yes, the season is here for a hope and good cheer. May it last throughout all the year.
Happy holiday. We're wishing everyone a happy holiday. May the carolers bring what will make your heart sing. May you find joy in everything.
Hey girl, are you listening to me? I said, hey pal,
Time to trim up that tree.
this season you can light up your life or a menorah for 8 nights. No one needs to feel all alone, so come join us. Why not pick up that phone when you help us get this joy off the ground? That's when peace on earth can be found. It takes a village, people.
Happy holidays. We're wishing everyone
Thank you, Scott Coulter, for this brilliant video and all of the artists that are in it. Many of them are friends, too many to mention here. I don't want to leave any names off, but if any of you want a list of everyone that you saw in the video or even the video, reach out to me and I will get it to you. And of course, I'm here with the one and only Dr. Judi Bloom. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. If that doesn't put you in a good mood, nothing will. That was terrific.
You know, I only got that this morning. And when I saw this, I said, I asked Scott to come on the show, but he was not available. He will be on at a later date. And he gave us permission to use it. So I'm thrilled with that. Today, we're going to be talking about the holidays and how we are forging through, and also how it's affecting all of us psychologically. And when I think of Christmas, I mean, I've come to this realization this year, I think more so than ever, that it's all a state of mind. It's all on how we want to get through it, how we are perceiving it. I have been in New York on my own for 41 years. And when I say on my own, I mean away from my blood family. And I have spent many holidays away from my family. So my mom, who is watching, I send my love out to my family and to families everywhere who are struggling this year. Dr. Bloom, how are you spending Christmas night or Christmas Eve?
Well, as soon as this show is over, actually, both my kids are coming over. They are driving distance, so they're driving here together, actually. And we're going to have, a family reunion celebration. My daughter's college roommate, actually, and her mother are also coming. So, it's COVID safe and all of those things. We're being very conscious of all that. And we're going to enjoy the season as much as we can. And for, a lot of people, Richard, it's about enduring as much as it is celebrating this year. So
we've got a big show ahead with everyone today, and I want to get everyone in and give them equal time. But our very first entertainer is Kimberly Greenberg. And I call them all entertainers instead of performers because with all of them, it's always about the audience. And Kimberly, I've known for a number of years. She has a one-woman show, essentially a one-woman show, celebrating the life and legacy of Fanny Brice. It's not just about Barbra Streisand. She really evokes Fanny Brice, and it's an incredible show. But she's taken all of that and she's put that into this new medium. And I'm going to share this video of Kimberly Greenberg, and then we will meet her on the other side.
Everyone knows that I'm just second-hand rose from 2nd Avenue. From 2nd Avenue. No.
Hi.
No? How are you doing?
Dr. Bloom, meet Kimberly Faye Greenberg.
Hi, nice to meet you.
really, really nice to meet you. That was great. I can't wait to see your show.
Thank you so much.
Kimberly, I want to begin by asking you, how has this incredible new time that we're in altered the way that you're spending the holidays this year?
It's so interesting because I'm Jewish, so I don't usually celebrate Christmas, but usually Christmas is a time when I'm working a lot because being somebody who doesn't really celebrate Christmas unless like Hanukkah is in alignment, I'm always the one who's like, I'm gonna go work because I can make some money. And then I love Christmas movies, so I'll watch like a Hallmark movie and listen to music. I've been listening to Christmas tunes all day, but it's very strange because it is completely still an adjustment to normalcy in life. I'm used to working on Broadway and doing 8 shows a week and doing shows on the holidays, not actually having a break necessarily. And I'm a bit of a workaholic anyway, so there's whole therapy need in that as well. But so I've just found it interesting in how if I am gonna take a pause or not and celebrate. If there is, I mean, obviously I have health to celebrate, I have things to celebrate, but it's a very awkward time. I find the holidays can be stressful regardless, and even more so now, and a little bit of not being with family. I have family on the West Coast, so I'm in New Jersey. So I'm not used to seeing them during holidays. I'm used to seeing them on weird times of the year. So yeah, it's still been an interesting adjustment, I guess you could say, because you're surrounded, you go outside and you're surrounded in the stores by all this magic and like happy. And I think we're all kind of walking in that weird zone right now. Is that where we really want to be or not? Or, I mean, we're all missing something.
I have a question. I want to ask you about what the video we just saw. Obviously, you created this show for the experience of being in a theater in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And now it's being presented virtually.
Yeah.
Did you go into a studio and record this? Or is this the show that you filmed in front of an audience?
So interestingly enough, this was one of the shows that I had filmed in front of an audience a couple years ago. Streaming wasn't actually in my periphery till about 4 months into COVID, and actually wasn't even my idea. Somebody else had said to me, you should consider this. And I was actually thinking it was a bad thing, because I was like, I don't want to put my show out there. No one's going to buy it. No one's going to want to see it in the theater. We're not going to be able to tour it anymore. And it's also very scary because there's a huge learning curve, and you never know what you're opening yourself up to. Do you know what I mean? So it's totally out of my realm of normalcy. But I did end up putting an edited version that I edited for streaming online, and then it became so successful that now it's streaming on the Stellar platform. And has been named one of the best streams during this time, which has been really exciting.
That's great.
But it's been its own emotional roller coaster too. I'm actually, speaking of working on the holidays, I was totally the one to go, well, I don't do anything on the holidays. I usually work, so let me stream a show. So I'm going to stream a show tonight and tomorrow, which I don't know if that was the best decision for me to have made, but it's so funny. It's like, well, just work. So, okay. You know what I mean? So it's been interesting. It's been very rewarding and fulfilling, but also it is like learning a whole new medium. You'd think it'd be so easy. Even though I have a show that's videotaped, it's so not what you would think it would be. That's its own emotional roller coaster. Yeah.
Now, Dr. Bloom, do you have any comments before we bring on our next guest?
Well, you're adapting to this whole new world, just as all of us are. And I know exactly what you mean about that sort of forced, let's all be merry.
Yeah, totally. And I am definitely not one to wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm very much happy, inspire. Let's keep going. You can make it. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, even just saying, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year is a way of reinforcing for ourselves that things are going to get better. Things are starting to look up. But this is, goodbye 2020. Hello 2021.
Right.
We're ready.
Right. Yeah, we are ready. We are ready for 2021. That is for sure.
And we're also ready for our next guest. Ann Kittredge is, first of all, one of my favorite entertainers all around, and also a very, very dear friend. Her husband, Bob Hoffman, was on our very first show that we did with Dr. Bloom. And so I'm glad that now we're giving her equal time. But before we bring Ann on, Ann has created a new series herself called Virtual Shorts. And it's a very short video presentation that she does, a couple of times a month. And it's this whole new medium that she is bringing to the forefront, which we will talk about after you see a brief example of what she's doing.
You heard the rehearsal. You know the other song?
Yes.
Can we just do the two of them together? Let's just see. We'll get them both in. All right, ready? Have a holly
the
jolly
red-nosed
Christmas.
reindeer
It's the
had a
best
very
time of
shiny
the year.
nose. And
I
if
don't
you
know
ever
if
saw
there'll be
it,
snow,
you
but
would
have
even
a cup
say
of
it
cheer.
glows.
Have a
All
holly
of the
jolly
other
Christmas.
reindeer
And when you
used to laugh and
walk
call
down
him
the street,
names. They
say
never let
hello
poor
to friends
Rudolph
you know, and
join in any
everyone
reindeer
you
games.
meet.
Then one
Oh,
foggy
the
Christmas
mistletoe
Eve,
hung
Santa
where you
came to
can
say,
see.
Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?
Have a
Then how
holly
the
jolly
reindeer loved
Christmas.
him,
And
and they shouted out with glee, oh, by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year.
Oh, David, thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank
you, Matt. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much for
Mwah.
joining us.
Jam Kazam! Hello, Anne. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's start with the obvious. How are you spending your Christmas Eve?
Well, we did invite just one family for an outdoor gathering. We don't know whether it's going to happen because of the weather. I'll find out when we're done with this show. If they're here. But we usually have a huge Christmas Eve party, and we've been doing it for, 18 years. And so what we decided, since we couldn't do that, is, one of the things that was part of that tradition, not just for us, it turns out, but for our guests, was that I make lemon breads. I make about 70 lemon breads around this time of year, and everyone who comes to the party gets one, and then they have it for their Christmas breakfast. And when I realized that we weren't going to be able to have a party, I just wrote to everyone and I said, if you still want a lemon bread, I will bake it and deliver it to you. So we did that today. We were delivering.
And how far do you travel?
Just in the neighborhood. Sorry, Richard. Although when I come to your house, I will bake one for you.
Okay, great. You brought a lemon bread when you came to our Christmas party the last time.
You've already had it then. So
I know. Yeah. Well, I love it.
No longer a virgin in more ways than one. But yeah.
So, Anne, we just saw an example of Jam Kazam, and David Sabella, who you were appearing with, he brought this to you. Am I right? Or is this something that you brought to him?
Oh, well, Jam Kazam, yes. How did I hear about Jam Kazam? I think I might have heard about Jam Kazam from David Sabella. I think I might have. Yes, he might have been the one who, no. Christopher Denny, my music director for the show, told me about Jam Kazam. And then and then David got really into it, and David's such a proponent for all of these things, and on Cabaret Hotspot, he has all of these classes for people to take to be able to use these things. So yeah, that's how it happened.
And I can say this, I hope, because you and I have had many conversations on this. You are a live entertainer. You prefer the audience, and therefore you were very reluctant for coming to this medium. It took you a while to get here. Since you've now started doing these, what do you love most about what you're doing, and what do you find is the hardest resistance that you're going through right now?
Well, what we're doing is, which is the novel part of Virtual Shorts, is we are performing live. Like, we're all in our different places. We're in Queens and Manhattan and Brooklyn and all these different places, but we're working live with no latency issues. And what that offers you is the opportunity to, one, as an artist, to be live collaborating, right? There's another wonderful art form going on now with all the videos of people performing, and then the video editor putting it all together, and like what you played at the beginning, which I just loved, and yes, I want a copy. It was wonderful. What I miss most about performance is the collaborative part, and I think that audiences love that too. They love the energy of a mistake. you know, um, and the camaraderie between artists. And so what my show is about is bringing that to the not only our audience but to the arts community, so that it's not just me doing it. Like I want people to see, look, you can collaborate again safely. You know, you don't have to go somewhere and meet someone and be afraid that possibly, you know. And the scary part is that it is new. And for instance, our show that we did last week, we crashed 3 times just before we went on. So it was quite terrifying.
I crashed a few times after it.
Exactly. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Dr. Bloom?
I thought it was fantastic. And that's wonderful that you can still have that live interaction and sense of each other, as performers.
Yeah, it's exciting, and the platform is improving more and more and more, and we're just going to keep pushing the envelope. What happened in the last show is David and I actually sang a duet. It's like the first time that's ever happened, right? So next time I don't know, I have ideas. I'm not going to say yet, though. I have to see what I can work out, but yeah.
And keep us posted. I'll be sharing information about your upcoming shows. But I do want to say that I hosted last Monday night, I hosted an event for Dancers Over 40 for the Legacy Awards. And normally when we do the Legacy Awards, they are held at Lips, which is a small club. And we have about 125 people tune in. We had over 1,500 people worldwide. And I say this because that is going to bring us to our next guest. Richard Shelton is one of my favorite entertainers around. If you haven't heard this man sing, by all means, we're going to tell you how you can. Normally, he's either in London or in California. I saw him the last time, I think it was, that you were in New York. Is that true, Richard?
Yes.
When you were at Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
And I met Richard virtually years ago when I interviewed him for my blog. Then I've seen him live on stage. But this is the first time that we're doing this platform. And I will say, and I apologize that we're not able to show a clip of your incredible work. But I received an email this morning and I saw the video and I tried to get it. I'm not technical savvy and my husband was not here to help me with that. But when I saw it, I said, would you be willing to come on the show? And he says, I would love to. So this is the last minute addition to today's show. But Richard, thank you so much. And how are you spending the holiday tonight?
Well, as you can hear, I'm British, but I'm talking to you from Laurel Canyon in California, and it's raining outside and it's cold. So actually, it makes me feel very at home. I'm going to be hunkered in by the fire. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Now, Richard, let me ask you then, when was the last time that you were home in London?
So I was in Australia. I was touring a show. I have a big, this is a strangeness because you can plainly hear I'm British, but I have a big affinity with Frank Sinatra, having played him a few times in various dramas, quite sort of dark dramas that go to the underbelly of that icon. So I was in Australia actually at the Adelaide Festival performing in March when this all happened. And I got a message, you better come back now, because people were unsure if the borders were closing or what the hell was happening. So I did. I got on a plane and came back to LA, and I've been here ever since. So I have no hope of getting back to the UK anytime soon because of the situation we're all caught in. So it's a strangeness.
Now, I know that for some time you've been doing these great music videos, very high quality, very entertaining. But have you really adapted well to this new way of getting your work out to audiences?
I mean, I think it's fascinating what everybody is saying. I mean, I'm in exactly the same boat because there's nothing, no matter what you do, there's nothing like live. Live is, it's such a reciprocal experience. You know, you're giving and and you're getting something back from the audience, and then they're getting from you. So to suddenly have that removed and go to a screen is in of itself the strangest leap. But I took inspiration from, do you remember in Italy earlier in the year when folks were doing those balcony concerts?
Yes.
A friend got in touch and said, why don't you do those? And I said, okay, that's a good idea. So I did. I got out on the balcony with my PA, cranked it up thinking, well, who's going to want to see this? Nobody. And what do you know? People tuned in and this whole new world sort of opened up. So that was the start of it. And I've kind of learned, I just filmed last week 2 virtual shows, a jazz show and a Christmas special. And you sort of have to learn a new technique when you're interacting with people through a screen because you're getting nothing back. So you have to sort of think for them and then move on very quickly. You know, you can't pause for any applause or for laughter. You have to keep it moving and keep the screen alive. So it's almost like a new technique, if you know what I mean. I don't know if everyone else has felt. I don't know if you, Kimberly and Anna, felt the same thing, but it's kind of an interesting challenge.
Yeah, you have to keep everyone's attention. It's only so finite, I think, virtually.
And the chat component to a lot of these are really wonderful. Like people really like to engage in that way. I have not yet mastered being able to perform and read it. It's like I read it after and then I respond to people after.
Well, you know, I've said this in previous shows and I'll say this again. All of us who are doing this have an even greater appreciation for the tech and sound people in the theaters. Because it really is, you know, a whole new challenge. Now, you mentioned Australia. And our next guest is actually from Australia, and he's one of my favorite entertainers, Kim David Smith. He has a new show that are you streaming live, Kim, from Club Coming, or how? Tell us about the technique and what you've done with that.
Well, it's hi everybody. It's lovely to see you all and meet you all. We just listening to what you guys were saying about missing the audience and the space that an audience takes up within a show. For me, there is as much a character as I am, as Tracy Stark is, who I work with, and like, you know, lighting. They're like completely take up that same sort of integral space. So Matt Berman, our technical director for A Very Weimar Christmas, which is my sort of anti-holiday show. It's its own thing. It's ridiculous. But we were just talking about it, and I was like, can we just pipe in like the most ridiculous stadium-sized applause after every song? Can we just like have that? And so he's done that, and what he piped it in live as we were performing, like while Tracy and I were every end of the song, like, oh my God, like cheer screams and people losing their minds. And that was so helpful in keeping us buoyed. And with my special, because I had 3 amazing special guests as well in the show, and just to see them reacting, like it's amazing how quickly I forgot there was not a stadium-sized audience in the corridor-sized venue of Club Coming. But it really was, and then watching it back, it's like, oh, you have that fun feeling. So that was a huge part of what made recording and editing that show feel like a little bit like we're not in COVID times.
Dr. Bloom?
Well, it sounds like, you know, everybody here has really adapted to this new medium that we're all forced to work in, myself included. And, you know, you find the good things about it as well. You know, the challenges, yeah, but you also find ways that, hey, this isn't terrible. This is, you know, there are ways to make this kind of work. And, you know, Richard, when you were talking earlier about, you know, reaching 1,500 people versus, you know, what you normally would reach, I think that's one of the huge benefits of this, is that you can reach so many more people, which is very cool. You know, you can't fit that many people into a small theater.
Right.
Now, speaking of which, I have a question for each of you, which we'll go around and start with you, Kimberly, which you can all address. Because we are now, in addition to the fact that we're all doing what we're doing, everyone in the arts is trying to do the same thing, or they are doing the same thing. So there is an absolute glut of choices out there at any given time. And I want to know, with the work that each of you are doing, is this available at a later time? I've stopped looking at the numbers because those numbers come later when people are able to watch it at their own leisure. I have had people tell me that they are binge watching my interviews now, which I love. But what about you, Kimberly? After the fact that you've got your scheduled performances that you're streaming, will your audiences be able to go and find you after the fact?
So with my show, it's probably not going to ever be on demand, only because the way my show is a book show and the syncing licensing's rights. Unfortunately, if you want to see my show, I have dates through April at this point. So you actually have to pick a date and a time and choose, which in and of itself during this time is a challenge to market to people, because now everyone is so used to everything being on demand. So that in itself is challenging. So I mean, I guess really just finding stuff online for me and just watching them. If you can't watch, a stream of the show, is really the way to find me and my talents as far as that is concerned. But I would just have to agree that there's such an oversaturation of everything, and I applaud anybody who is trying to do anything during this time, because I think, as we're all reiterating here, whichever route you choose, it's all very completely different, and it's all just as challenging. So while it's hard to figure out where to go to watch something, it's kind of cool that we all are continuing to figure out a way to make our art in whichever way that's possible. So
now, what is the length of your show, Kimberly?
So online, it's an hour and 15.
Okay.
And for the exact reason that we were just talking about, it's like it's normally can be anywhere from between an hour to a 2-hour show. And mostly it's a 2-hour show in a live theater, because you're going to have an intermission. And that's sort of the expectation of a nice full show. But I knew that virtually, attention spans are so fast. So I did a lot of cutting to make sure that it made sense, but also to make sure that it was like a moving train.
Oh, yeah.
So that everybody was on it with me the whole time and never got away from it. And I feel like that has worked out pretty well. Plus, it in and of itself becomes a unique entity, because then my thought was like, well, people will still want to see my show in person if they're going to see something that was different than what they saw online.
Now, my interviews are also an hour show, but the opposite end of that spectrum is Ann Kittredge, because, she came up with the idea of virtual shorts. They are short videos that you're putting together. And one of the things that you and I have talked about, you do not have a set time that these actually appear. They appear when I think you're inspired to put them out there.
Well, actually, no. We're scheduled based on what's going on with the platform. So like sometimes we've had to delay our performance because the platform was doing updates and the updates screwed everything up. So we had to wait for them to do another update so that it was working. It's a novel platform. So, we're really controlled by that. And right now they are really getting in a place where they're going to be steadier, and the more steady they are, the more we can do it. But we are keeping it short for a few reasons. One, because as Kimberly pointed out, attention spans have just changed. And I actually can spend more time watching a show like Richard's than watching a show full of music for over an hour. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, there's some kind of, I don't know. There's just some reason why my attention span is better listening to people talking than watching a 2-hour concert. I'm not doing that as well as I used to. But we kept it short also because we don't want to crash in performance. So, so
is that because of some of the kinks that are still being worked out with Jam Kazam?
Yeah, there's still a lot of kinks, and the other reason is because each show we do, we want to advance it forward. We want to advance the technology forward so that people have a reason to, not only for the entertainment, which is usually about 20 to 30 minutes, but to see, oh my gosh, what can we do more with this? Because when people see that the video quality has gotten to such a point, and the collaborative, live, remote stuff is getting stronger and stronger, then I truly believe it'll explode. I think that then everyone's going to go, oh my gosh, I really want to do this, which is, our ultimate goal.
Now, Richard, I know that you have a YouTube channel, and how many videos do you currently have on the YouTube channel that you've actually created within the past year since COVID first began? And in terms of people becoming familiar with your work, is your preference that they go through your YouTube channel?
So, to answer the first question, how many? Some people would say too many, and others would say not enough. It depends who you're asking.
I'll say not enough.
I think I found this year it's sort of been a catching up year because I have an acting career which is separate from a music career, and my music career is in the jazz world, really. I guess it's been an opportunity to try and populate the YouTube channel with the right assets that sort of present the message I want to give. And I'm much like you. I'm not the most technically minded person in the world at all. So I've had people to help me curate that. But you sort of get to a level where I think people get the message you're trying to put across, and dip in and out of it. So I know that when I put a show out, numbers might be initially small, but then they'll suddenly spike. Or we had I went on the balcony concerts. I had a Julie Bowen who was in Modern Family. She happens to live around the corner, so she walked by and did a clip and put it out. And what do you know? You get 250,000 people watching, but then you get next week nobody's watching. So it's a confusing thing. So I guess on the channel now there's maybe I don't know, 30 videos, something like that, I guess.
But everyone can go and they can subscribe, and they'll get a reminder when you put a new one up.
Yeah.
Kim, I want to ask you, Kim David Smith, that we all know, I mean, when audiences come to see your work, they're coming to see you. But you and I both know that it's a collaborative process. There are a lot of people behind the scenes that the audiences may not necessarily know about. How have you put your team together in this COVID age that we're living in?
I feel like a lot of it, I mean, for me, it's like my core team is myself and Tracy Stark, my music director, everybody's music director, but she's also mine. She's brilliant. But Club Coming, my relationship with the club, with Daniel Nodiccio and Sam Benedict at the club, like they have been instrumental in having a cabaret home. I mean, Joe's Pub also streamed one of my old shows. They were doing this great series, Joe's Pub Live from the Archives. They've been, Kiki and Herb's been up there. It's all on their YouTube channel. It's like super, super cool. But in terms of creating new content and building a team for that, Club Coming themselves, like they hooked me up with Matt Berman and everybody else who participated in filming my holiday show. And we're totally going to do some more stuff because this thing's not going away.
No, not anytime soon.
Not yet. And I am way not old enough. I'm not that young, but I'm not old enough for a vaccine in the first round. So I've got to be patient.
Don't rub it in.
We aren't either, Richard.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We're not old enough either.
None of us present are quite old enough for that. So.
Dr. Bloom, do you have any thoughts on any of the comments that you've just heard?
Not really, except that I think everybody is doing magnificent work. One of the things I wanted to mention was how people are really finding ways to express how fortunate they are at this time of year compared to so many other people. I know Jeremy Harris, the author of Slave Play, for instance, he's a young Black man, playwright and actor, and he made $1 million this year. And he's giving away most of it to other artists to support them. But that's what he's doing.
My address.
He was living on 20,000 a year for so many years, right? And to suddenly have this huge windfall because of this play, he just felt completely obligated to pass it on. So he's given away, I mean, just like, to various other playwrights, and he's sent plays and play archives to libraries in all of the states, all 50 states. All these really wonderful things, with this money that he could have just put in the bank or invested. And it's just, I think, looking at people like this who are just really inspiring in the arts as well is really important for all of us. We're not only are we adapting, we're learning how to give.
One thing that I'm sure. Oh, go ahead, Anne. I'm sorry.
I did want to say. One thing I wanted to say is, I'm oddly less on social media since the isolation than before, which I think is odd. But what I do find is, I'll go onto Facebook and it'll open up to a show. And I love that. It's like, oh, I didn't know they were doing a show. I didn't, but it's like this gift just entered my life and I wasn't expecting it. And so, I love that. I just wanted to say that that's a really nice.
I'm the same way. If something pops up and, even if I'm working, I will listen to it. And that's how I'm finding that I'm experiencing a lot of these live streams. I'm listening more so than watching. Because I'm busy doing my own thing here. One thing that I want to ask each of you about, in the theater, in cabaret, we've all been the recipients, I don't want to say the word victim, of someone taking photographs during a show, sharing content and everything. And we've never really had total control over it. Now, on this new medium, even more so, unless the guidelines are in place where someone cannot share a video or something, a lot of our content is being shared. I welcome it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Kim David Smith, where do you stand on this?
I mean, for me, it's like making noise. It on social media, it all sort of comes back to, a lot of it fades out into the nothingness of the cosmos. But whatever does come back to me in terms of new followers, audience members for the future, I'm just like share. Take a photo, share it, do whatever you want to it, go bananas. I just think, because trying to make noise nowadays is, I'm not on TikTok because I don't quite understand what that is. But like Instagram, everything else, I'm just like, let's go bananas. Let's just try and make some noise. There's so much noise going on out there, whatever your specific voice is. And for me, it's like cultural appropriation of the Weimar period in Germany. And I'm just going to make as much noise on that little trumpet as I possibly can.
I love that. And Richard, I want to ask you, I mean, since Kim brings this up, how are you making the most noise on social media?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do the work and then I put it up there and I think I pray to a God of my understanding who may or may not be listening. I don't know. I just do it. And I think, I have some very loyal friends and it's kind of, oh, it's you again. No, I just put it out there and hope. And I noticed especially with the balcony concerts in the summer, the most unlikely people would crop up. And people in Bermuda. I don't know anyone. I've never been to Bermuda, but him here and her there, and it sort of was a little bit organic. But it's interesting, Kim, what you say about TikTok, because I have a hint for you. Because about a week ago, I called my manager and I said, "Talk to me about TikTok." So I spent about an hour on TikTok. And I mean, I tell you, my jaw hit the floor of that whole, it's like going onto the dark web or something. And I mean, I felt I shouldn't be looking at this. I shouldn't be seeing some of this stuff. But I spoke to someone who then, who does social media. And I said, you know what, maybe I need a 16-year-old to because did you know that Frank Sinatra now has a TikTok account? I mean, he's been dead 20 odd years, but he's got a TikTok account. And
is this something that's being done by Nancy or Tina?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I mean, because they've kept his legacy alive very much.
Yeah.
Well,
But
Now,
TikTok.
and you do have, I mean, how old is your son?
16.
16.
Aha.
Is he able to help you in these other areas, or have you worked together on grabbing that audience?
My son, you hear this all the time. My son has zero interest in my singing. Like, I mean, but he does love me, and he will come to performances. He's surprised me at times, and I know it's because he loves me. He really doesn't like what I do as much as he likes me. So he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's not. He's not a part of this other than just as a support.
Well, let me ask you also, Anne, what is your main method of creating the noise with your art?
You mean in COVID?
In terms of getting the word out now during COVID?
I guess it's my virtual shorts. I guess it's, it's looking for, this sounds so philosophical, and it is, but we've talked about this, that, I so sincerely believe that the value of a performance is heightened when it is other oriented. And so one of the reasons it took me so long to get onto this is because I didn't want to just perform because I needed to. I mean, that wasn't who I am. And I didn't feel like anyone was going to give a darn to watch that. Right. So it wasn't until I was able to find that kernel, that seed of, oh, this is how I can benefit others, not just as an entertainer, but in other ways. And I guess I'm hoping that if I continue that it's going to, it's going to blossom.
That's nice.
And Kimberly, what about you? I mean, how are you building your audience beyond your core base during this time frame when there are so many options and opportunities out there for everyone?
Well, I do have to be honest. It can be very frustrating. I feel like cutting through the noise, and again, a lot of it is great noise. You know what I mean? But cutting through to get people to listen or pay attention is challenging. And then I've had many a discussion about this with many people, because I'm always curious. This is why it's great to be in this virtual room to hear what everyone else is doing. But I think for me, and the reason why I'm so passionate about my show and getting people to watch is because there isn't a lot out there that is a book show that's like classic musical theater and about somebody who is so integral to Broadway and the community. So I feel like I just continue to put that out there. It's very much like I hope, and what I get from most people who watch it, it's like they actually do feel like they're sitting in the theater watching my show. And for me, that makes my heart happy, because I want to continue to give the experience of that theater joy. That's like the basis of why I do this. So I mean, that's what I just keep putting out there and hope to find people. And it's interesting because most people who have watched my show are not the core. They're actually strangers. And I just finished streaming to a group of 40 women out of LA, out of a temple in LA who found me. Don't know how they found me. So I find that fascinating as well. That it's not really the core. It's like people somewhere here, and I can't even really explain how that's quite happening. I feel like with social, the thing I do is I just continue. I probably sound like a broken record, and I'm sure people are really annoyed, but like I just continue to just post. I mean, so much of that goes into the oblivion of social media, but that's the only way to like continue to hope that someone's going to see it. You know what I mean?
And Dr. Bloom?
How do I attract new clients?
No, but I mean, any thoughts on anything that you've heard here with everyone?
I like everyone, I use social media. Anne, I'm wondering, is that where you put out your virtual short pieces?
Yeah, it airs on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay. Yeah, And I'm not a social media person at all. I mean, I just, like you were saying, Richard, TikTok, what?
I know. Now we are approaching the end of our show, believe it or not. But before we get there, I want to ask each of you, because this is where we are right now. Have any of you performed outside the realm of just live stream in the past year? And if so, what precautions have you used in terms of doing so, whether it means going into a studio, working with other musicians, whatever that may mean for each of you? And I also want to ask each of you how you see live performance coming back. And this time, Richard, I'll start with you.
Yes, I have. I performed. So I did 2 shows last week. One was in a big studio space, and the COVID protocol was really good. So I guess there were. It's in fact these guys put this studio together in response to COVID. They were all unemployed sound guys, sound and light guys, and they came together as a collaboration and set up this fabulous studio down towards Long Beach. I was the only one that was allowed not to be wearing a mask during the performance, and the pianist. But then everybody was masked up and sanitized up. And then I did one in Vitello's, which is in Studio City here in LA. And again, it was all everybody in a mask and just some cameras. But it was, what was, I mean, I'm actually getting a lot out of this today. It's just so lovely to communicate with like-minded colleagues and people and friends. Reminds you we're all in this together. But what was so wonderful in that moment of working with musicians again and being live with a pianist and all was that it was just that it was live, and it was like, oh, I can breathe again. It's like walking in the sunlight. It was, I missed it. I realized how much I've missed it, I guess.
Anne?
I guess the only 2 things I did was in a recording studio, and in the prep I did insist on having my own separate little box. It was like, can we be in separate rooms? And then for several months, I was one of those people out on the terrace singing every night. That's the closest thing to a live performance I think I've done.
Kimberly?
Well, I haven't had the opportunity to sing yet live. I've worked as an actor on a film set, and that was very much COVID protocols. And then I'm also a dresser, a wardrobe supervisor backstage. So I've been on a couple of sets with the Wynton Marsalis Jazz Orchestra when they made their holiday video, which was very interesting, coming at it not as from a performer perspective, but from the backstage perspective, where they were definitely following all the COVID protocols too. So, but the musicians themselves, they had to play their instruments, so they weren't masked. And that was pretty large in scope. But I hope to sing and perform again live as soon as is possible. I hope. Yeah, there's nothing like it,
And Kim?
I mean, for me, it's mostly been, I was lucky enough to have a live album come out this year. That was the plan when there was no pandemic anyway. So it feels like I've been doing stuff, and I really haven't. But I've done the 2 shows at Club Cumming. Both times, all the crew, and very skeletal crew, everyone's masked and distanced, and just Tracy and myself without masks. And Tracy would put a mask on when one of my guest artists would come up and sing, and they would be masked until they got up to sing. And when you've got drag queens on board, that is a big ask, and everyone's cool with it. Everyone's cool with it. They're like, it doesn't matter. I'll read you my lips before I sing. It's like, everyone is like, that's been the really lovely thing about the protocols, is that everyone is interested in them. At least in our community and in my sort of little orbit, I've noticed. So I appreciate that so much.
That's great. Well, I'm looking at the clock, and we're almost at the end of our show. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Normally, Dr. Bloom and I meet every other Thursday, but we decided to do this special Christmas Eve show. And we're going to be back next week on New Year's Eve to talk about setting goals and intentions for the new year. So we hope you all will tune in for that show as well. Dr. Bloom, you've gotten me through the latter part of this year. So thank you for that. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the show, and I hope you did, please tell your friends about the show. This will be available on YouTube afterwards. Share it with your friends. I always end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list. Go to the sixth name that pops up and reach out to that person and tell them what they mean to you. Not with an email, not with a text, not with a private message, but a phone call. Also, when I was doing my live variety show, I always used to say at the end of the show, consider this a poo-poo platter of all that cabaret has to offer. And all of these, they're all great entertainers. I want you all to feel free to post on my page about anything that's coming up so that those who are watching today will know about it. And I'm going to go around with each of you, and I want you each to tell us what's coming up next for you so that everybody will be aware of that. And then I want you also to have the final word. You can expound upon anything that we said today. You can bring something up that you wish that we had covered, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone. And Dr. Bloom, I will give you the final word when we get to that point. But Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, do whatever you can so that all of us this time next year will be appearing together, all of us, on one stage. Thank you. And Kim, I'm going to start with you.
Kim as in Kimberly or Kim?
And David Smith, sorry.
Oh, cool. Hi. What am I working on? I've got one last little post-Christmas stream of A Very Weimar Christmas for those who need a little more Christmas this year, and that's probably a lot of it. And then, I don't know, my final word is be kind, stay generous of spirit. We're all like the guy who delivered my food to the back door instead of the front door yesterday, and I felt cross about it, but I didn't tell him I was cross. It's just, all those little, all those tiny little ways that you can spare people the monster within. Do that this year.
Thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I'd second that. I have a show tomorrow. The thing we did at Vitello's is broadcast tomorrow, Christmas Day. So it's 5 p.m. LA. So that's, what time is that? 8 p.m. Yeah, East. Yeah. Or whatever time it is for the rest of the world, if anybody's watching in Bangkok or somewhere. And much like Kim, really, I think that, be kind, because also the thing is as well, I found myself, you have to almost remember what's going on for everybody else in their world. Like somebody did something a little funky yesterday, and then I thought, hang on, what's going on for them? So a little bit of patience and kindness it's a good reminder. I'll borrow Kim's idea.
Thank you. Anne?
Well, I usually post on social media about my next virtual short about 10 to 14 days before each one. So, and I will post on your page. Thank you.
Please. Thank you.
So you can look out for that. And I guess the only thing I would say is, a lot of people have a lot less money right now. And especially this is more for parents. I know that our Christmas is going to be different, and we have always wanted our children to be more thoughtful than material. And we have all been making, it took even more time, but our gifts this year are much more about thoughtfulness and meaningfulness. And, if we have children that are going to be disappointed, then they're going to learn something from that. But I just hope that any parents out there just realize that, thoughtfulness and meaningfulness are the most important gifts you can give your children.
Nice.
Not to worry about the money.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Kimberly?
Well, my streaming Fanny Bryce show, you can find all that information at fabulousfannybryceshow.com. And it's streaming on select dates and times through April now, which is exciting. And obviously you can just Google me and a bunch of other things will pop up. So feel free. But I think as far as now I think it's just also in the kindness idea is to be as kind to ourselves too as well, because I think we as artists and those who are probably watching as well, artists, because we can't express ourselves, we are all getting very frustrated. And I think I just want to encourage people to take the risks along the lines that what we have done, because even though there's no perfectness about it at all, it's very fulfilling. And I think it comes back to us like to inspire others to continue to create as well. It's been really kind of cool to see what other people who are like, oh, I've seen your show or I watched you do this, so I'm going to try this. And I think that's just as fulfilling to fill that artist need that we have in us to continue to create and help others create too.
Yeah. And thank you. And thank you all for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Dr. Bloom.
Thank you.
You know, everybody today has really been talking about how you've identified a way to continue to be in your flow. What Csikszentmihalyi, the Czech author, called flow, which is that mindful just thing that professional athletes have, professional actors have, where you are so in the zone that nothing else really matters. And you've all found a way to make that still happen, even with all the limitations that we are all under this year. So I would urge everybody out there, find your flow. Find what you can do that just gets you into that zone, and it will help you get through the rest of this time.
Yes. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.